All right. Cool.
Welcome, everyone.
Let's give people a couple seconds to
Yeah,
hop
let's-
on in real quick.
Hop on in real fast, get situated. But this is pretty much for the VOD. Welcome to the Couchcast, baby.
Yeah, everybody, welcome. We have Steve Favis here. I'm trying to pull up all my good stuff.
Yeah, no, you're all good.
One
We
sec.
have Steve here today. One of our guests. Do you want to take it away a little bit?
Yeah, no problem. Well, we got Steve, CEO of Favis, right?
That's
What's
right.
it?
Favis
Awesome.
Advanced Robotics
Favis
Corporation.
Advanced Robotics Corporation, former EA employee. They have several patents in advanced humanoid robotics. Welcome, Steve Favis. Exciting.
Thank you.
How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, doing great. Thank you for having me, Michael and Wes. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to this.
Definitely. Wait, so you said you're relocating your facility?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a move. Basically, I had a 3,000 square foot office in Sacramento, California, and due to I kind of temporarily lost my shop due to a really bad COVID episode. But I'm just rebuilding and raising capital for my Houston facility, basically. So
Nice.
I'm just going to transfer my Sacramento facility to Houston, basically. It's a little more pro business here. So
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
yeah, I'm about to say.
definitely. Steve,
yes, exactly. Yep.
You play guitar?
Yeah, I do play guitar. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a vocalist and I do drum chords and stuff. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
That is sweet.
How long have you been playing?
since I was about 17.
Wow.
That is awesome. All right, cool. Very cool.
Nice. So daytime AI engineer, nighttime musician.
Yeah. It's on my bucket list to do an open mic one of these days. I have some original songs. Maybe if I build up enough confidence, I'll do an open mic one of these nights. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I took
definitely.
vocal training and stuff like that. But I'm still a strummer, not like a lead soloist guitar, but chords and vocals. So yeah.
I say Houston's a pretty great place for playing music for sure. I mean, it's got to have a
Yeah, for
ton
sure.
of
Yeah,
places.
it's meant to be some one of these days. I'll definitely cross off my bucket list and just do one open mic or something. So
Yeah. Oh my word. Yeah. We're both musicians, and
awesome.
I went to art school.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely. Well, we really want to get into like the meat of like what you do, what your mission statement is, your passion, which is robotics.
Yeah,
so, like,
absolutely.
how did you get into technology? Because it's such a new form with like the internet. It's only been around less than 100 years. It's a very new technology. How did you get into it? How did you start applying for jobs and stuff like that in the field?
Yeah, so programming came first. My father was visually handicapped, and he was a practicing physician, and he got a computer around 1984 when I was about 6 years old, and it was an Amiga 1000. They didn't have recording for the blind and dyslexic computer technology books that were coming out as fast as the software was changing. So what I decided, what he wanted me to do was just read to him the computer books, basically. So I learned
awesome.
programming first. And then what happened is you mentioned your art background. Art is absolutely critical for sciences and engineering. I have a large art background too in design in the video game industry. So this is how the video game industry and art ties in together. So I'm able to visualize my scientific mind artistically, and I can make the physics and stuff like that work through the art training, basically. So
Yeah.
so I'm an advocate of not necessarily STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, math. I'm an advocate of STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts,
That
and
is
math.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very,
Oh,
very
my
important.
word.
I mean, if you could think in real time and play a solo, then you could, you're doing something very, very, very complex.
Well, I always thought that like being an engineer and like being a programmer is very artistic just because you're making something out of nothing,
Yeah.
And that's like that is what every artist does, and they learn how
Yes,
to do.
exactly. That's right.
And it's just really interesting, how did you where did you go to college?
Yeah. So I failed calculus 4 times at California
oh my
State.
God,
I
that
know.
is awesome. Wait,
I
our
failed
friend,
calculus 4
oh
times.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, so I was a computer science major, and then what happened? I failed calculus 4 times, and I said I don't think the fifth time is really going to do it. So I switched to I switched to a technical school, ITT Tech, and they taught me the game development tools. But that wasn't being taught at the academic computer science major for California State University, Sacramento. So what happened was I got the art training at minus my programming background as a child. I got the art training at ITT Tech, and then I got the programming training from my background, and then I also got the like engineering training as a child. My father built, or my father helped me or bought me like model remote control airplanes, remote control cars, and all these things basically. And I just was obsessed with building them.
Yeah.
So I already had a little bit of engineering robotics background just from the RC and the programming basically. And by chance, I worked in the game industry. That was my passion. I just want to have fun all my life, but I applied these fun skills to my professional background basically.
Yeah.
So then at ITT, I learned how to make video games. I learned how to do game engine programming, not just programming. There's a huge difference. And I combined those skills. I worked at Electronic Arts, worked on some video games there. And then what happened was I entered a NASA DARPA hackathon in about 2013 or 2015, and I was just testing and simulating a logic for something called a Sphera, which is like a sphere that orbits around. It's kind of like a smart speaker for the space station.
Yeah.
Or not a space station or shuttle, basically. It just floats around using CO2 to propel itself. So I was testing algorithms for the NASA DARPA hackathon in a game engine. And then what I realized was, why am I waiting for that real-time calculation? Why not just accelerate the clock? And all of a sudden, boom, 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 instant results. I didn't have to wait for anything. Then I realized, wait a second, why are we training robots in the real world in real time? We should be using a game engine to train computer vision.
Yeah.
To train physics. To train audio interaction or whatever, and then accelerate the clock so the AI could literally learn what it's learning faster than we could pick up the robot, debug it, and program it, basically. So that's where the thing came about. And then I filed the patent for the Seraphim, the advanced robot, in 2015. So
wow, that's insane.
Kind of summary.
So you mentioned ITT Tech.
Yeah, it's an infamous school, but believe it or not, my experience was different because I thought they were under teaching me. So I just took it to an extreme and did a lot of studying, 3D modeling, 3D rendering, texturing, rigging, animation, using modern 3D packages.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because you hear a lot in the news about ITT Tech and like the fall of ITT Tech, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you feel like you were being adequately trained to do your things or no?
Well, I didn't feel like I was adequately being trained to do my things at Sac State either.
Oh, gotcha.
California.
Gotcha.
I felt like I was being under taught, and I felt like there's an overly high expectation for somebody that, at least at California State University, for something that was not being taught at a deeper level, basically. So
and
I think I got the sense at the big university. I mean, there's like 100,000 students or something at or maybe a semester at Sac State, Sacramento State University. And the teachers don't care whether you pass or fail. Just robots, just checking off stuff, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Do you think that like you're like going to a school for technology that is so new beneficial to someone to like go into a field like this?
Yeah, I think there's really only a few degrees that are critical for minus the fact of social networking at your university, meeting a new group of friends that'll help you professionally with connections. It's like you're basically social networking at a university. That's probably 85% of the equation.
Yeah.
So choose your social network wisely. But for the most part, I was being taught garbage at Sac State. Yeah. They were not teaching commercial development programming. They're teaching us how to build a wheel when the wheel was already done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
so I mean, and then when I went to Electronic Arts, they were using game engines. They weren't rote programming from each line in C++ or whatever. They
Yeah.
weren't doing that. They're using game engines. So
Oh, yeah.
there's a huge difference between academic programming and commercial programming. Commercial programming, you make money, finish products. Academic programming, you learn why the wheel works and the physics behind the wheel, which doesn't get you very far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, it's necessary for like engineering, obviously, for
yeah.
safety. We don't want elevators falling down on people.
Exactly.
Aerospace, for example, and healthcare. We want that formal education. But I know so many people who succeeded very well that don't even have a college degree. So
Yeah. Well, I think that there's starting to be a trend of people not really like going to a giant college, right? And
yeah,
maybe spending 1 or 2 years and then realizing that the thing that they want to do, they are just not doing, you know? I mean, I went to art school and like I studied musical theater, and all throughout
That's
the 4
awesome.
years, I thought that they were like going to teach me this grand thing of how I can just go out into the world and do theater immediately, right? But as soon as I got my degree, it was a piece of paper, and they didn't give me any guidance after that. They said, "Okay, here's how it works. Go." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it in the game industry though, exactly what you're talking about. Like a lot of game developers, like look at Bethesda and look at like Fallout, right? Like you have Fallout 3, fantastic game.
Yeah.
Then Fallout 4 just uses Skyrim's same engine, which was you know, the same game. And then with Fallout 76, they just didn't care anymore and they're just pumping out this trash because they're just using the same thing and they're not updating
they're recycling
anything.
content. Basically, they create the assets they had before. They're recycling content using the same game engine, some of the same stuff. Basically, some redesign. They're basically reskinning, new story reskin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely prevalent in today's, like, there's so many AAA titles that are just coming out that are just the same thing, and it's like, you know, people are definitely starting to see it because I can tell that indie developers that are developing their own engines and developing their own assets and tools are starting to emerge and become like way more successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a huge retro push back, maybe 5-10 years ago where they're just trying to do simple stuff that was already created in the, early 80s, late 90s and stuff like that too. So
yeah, and it feels like they're trying to reinvent the wheel where other like big like first party, third party developers, are just not are not catching on.
They got big with one game and now they're just like, well, we can just keep doing this until it dies and then we could maybe do something new.
Yeah.
Rather than an indie developer that needs to be innovative and think like, well, what hasn't been done?
Yeah.
What could work?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I released after my time in Electronic Arts, I independently created a bunch of iOS games for the iOS market. It was probably the pre-peak of the iOS mobile, like 3G phones that were kind of starting to peak before the big developers came on, like Electronic Arts or whatnot. And what happened was I noticed they were botting the app stores basically. So they would have these click farms in China have tons and tons of iPhones, and they just hit download, and then they manipulated the charts. So
to make it look like their app was like way better.
Yeah, exactly. And by chance, my first app was featured on the iOS App Store. It was called Armored Tank Assault. Great game, fun game. After we kind of went to a different section of the store, it just disappeared. We made money, but it was not like enough to like fund another continual game basically. So it wasn't worth the time.
I saw on your thing that that you had worked on the Simpsons game, and I was
that's correct.
That definitely caught my eye. I was like, that sounds awesome.
There was a lot. We worked with the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and I believe it was the Wii at the time. I wasn't on the Wii team, but it was a lot of fun. I got to work with the PlayStation dev kits. And again, I was surprised when I went there. I thought they're building everything from scratch, but they're using Renderware Studio. It was a game engine they're using, and what has replaced Renderware Studio is actually Unity game engine now, which is a great engine. Love the engine. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
With your job at EA, just like moving forward a little bit, you how did you use your connections from like all the schooling, or did you apply? Like what happened?
Yeah. So what happened after Electronic Arts? My school hired me back to teach after I got the experience there to bring out to the school what was going on at Electronic Arts.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So it kind of worked out. the teaching position was fun. I had a good time teaching. But for the most part, Electronic Arts was kind of churning a lot of their employees basically through like loopholes in salaries and stuff like that. They don't hire people for 3 months, lay them off, or 6 months and lay them off, wait for them to reapply, and then lay them and then hire them. So they do that game for several years for a lot of people.
So with like with the landscape of like working for such a big developer, how did you like, what was the environment of working on like big
Electronic Arts?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, between small studio environment and big studio environment, I don't know. For me personally, you know, not everybody had the same experience. I felt like if I didn't go to Princeton, Harvard, Oxford, or Yale, I didn't stand a chance at Electronic Arts.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of crazy too, because you know, you see like EA is notorious for being like, you know, pumping out the same thing over again, and kind of like not being the best labor wise. It's the same with Blizzard too, like all these big companies. So it's like, it kind of makes sense though. Like you would be like as in you would feel like that. Like that's the way it's like people portray.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
the way I felt. That's the way I felt when I was there, and I felt like as a contractor or whatever, you were just kind of churning through there, like
you're just like
no
a piece
eye
of their
contact,
puzzle.
you know. It's like disposable, exactly. You know, and I didn't run my company like that. Yeah, I made good friends with my coworkers and stuff like that. The people I hired, basically. So
yeah, that's how it should be. I mean, you know,
that's how it should be. That's how the game
tell.
industry started. You know what I mean? It was small studios, a bunch of guys that liked programming, making art or whatnot. It turned into this huge industry where it just got filtered into Princeton, Harvard, Oxford, Yale, or whatever. So
yeah. Well, how do you be creative in an environment that is so like rigid like that?
Yeah,
you don't. People were protecting their ideas, because what happened was just by chance at the end of the Simpsons project, I worked on some pre-concept work for Mirror's Edge.
Oh, that's
I didn't get
awesome.
any credit for that. I didn't get any credit for that.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I literally did some prototyping, some visualization for them when I was there at the end of but everybody was saying, don't give them your ideas. And sure enough, Mirror's Edge came out 2 years later.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I'm not the only one that goes through that. Everybody goes through that works at these big studios. So
yeah, I did see. I mean, you know, did you watch the God of War documentary? Any of you guys?
I didn't see the God of War documentary. No, it's
good,
huh?
Santa Monica, like when they were working on the 2018 game the first time, like the 2018 game, they had to just shut down a whole project and lay off a bunch of people, and just were like, yeah, like we're sorry guys, but like we're gonna shut down that game because we have to work on God of War. Like you're all just fired. And it's like it goes to show, like, you create one amazing art piece, but like those people put so much time and effort, probably like years, into that project, and then it's just gone, and their whole lives are just like they got to go find new jobs.
Wow.
It's like kind of saddening, like, you know, especially as an artist, like how, like, you know what I mean, like how would you feel,
of course,
like,
exactly,
letting it all go?
Those
and
are your
it's
babies,
like
right?
Yeah.
Those are your mental babies. All that your life's work basically is being taken, and then, you know, and it's stolen basically or whatnot. So
yeah. Well, do you think that like the video game industry and the technology industry as a whole, working under this model of independent contractors, do you think that's gonna fall? Do you think there's gonna be like some sort of like technological residency or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So you're asking a really good question. This is why I'm making hardware now. My software was pirated so much on the iOS store. Apple doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I can't compete with bot downloads. I'm not going to spend $10,000 in a click farm in China to have them rank me to the top of the charts and keep me up there. It's just not right. It doesn't mean you have a good game that way. There's no true feedback. This is why I don't like software. I do not like software at all anymore, because you can't file patents for software. I have a 20-year patent on my robot, and nobody can take that from me unless they purchase it, license it, or or fund me to make it, basically. So I am a huge advocate of the patent system. After my software was stolen, or iOS was stolen, I realized that I needed to make hardware. Hardware is more expensive, harder to start with, but the long-term effect is huge. And think about it. We're surrounded on hardware. Think about the valuation of those companies in the long term. Software, if I were to make a software program, a number one game, Microsoft will clone it, EA will clone it, whoever.
Yeah.
We don't stand a chance against these big giants, and you cannot patent software.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to change soon, or do you think that like that
No,
the
it's
capital
too hard because
structures?
what's happening is you can't patent an algorithm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
cannot patent
Mhm.
you can patent forms like the iPhone.
Mhm.
You could patent the form,
Yeah.
but you
Mhm.
can't patent software. So how are you going to protect yourself against Amazon, Microsoft, Google,
Yeah.
whoever, Electronic Arts? You can't. The only way you
Mhm.
can do is patent hardware. That's the only thing it comes down to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So let's actually talk about like, so you left EA because you were a private, like an independent contractor.
Yeah, I was an
Um,
independent contractor. Yep.
yeah, and you start your hardware company. What was like the initial spark of I want to work with
Yeah, how did
robotics
you end
and
up on like AI
AI?
and Melissa and stuff
That's the
like
funny
that?
part. So
Mhm.
so I was just playing. I'm a tennis junkie. I love playing tennis, and I was on a tennis court
Nice.
with a friend, and he asked me, "Do I have any patents?"
Mhm.
And then I just completely face palmed myself instantly. I knew. I was like, "Why don't I have any patents?"
Mhm.
And then I started doing some research, and then he had several patents. I realized, wait a second, for the independent developer or maker or whatnot,
Mhm.
patents are the best protection you could possibly get
Mhm.
for any type of technology.
Yeah.
And when you work with your patent attorney or whatnot, what happens is you know what's patentable, what is not patentable, what's open and whatnot.
Yeah.
Basically,
Mhm.
if you have that patent, you patent it first, and then you start developing the technology. You don't do it the other way around.
Mhm.
But so the patent was the first revelation. I was like, total face palm. I was like, wait a second, what am I doing here?
Mhm.
Everything I could possibly make will get stolen,
Mhm.
basically. So.
So what can you patent? Is it like the design? Is it like
So
shape? Is
physical
it
stuff again.
Mhm.
Going back to the art. This is why art is important.
Mhm.
If you patent a refreshing design
Mhm.
of whatever, it has to have a physical form, and
Mhm.
you could create 80% new of something. If you copy 80% of something, then your patent will not be granted
Mhm.
in form or whatnot. So if we're patenting the phone, and we have 80% of it the same, then you're not going to get your patent grant, basically. And
Mhm.
patent grants are valuable. I think trillions of the NASDAQ
Mhm.
is just an intellectual property of patents, basically.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
so would your AI or any of like the proprietary like anything? I guess it would be like the software or anything. So you can't patent the software, but can you patent like the AI or anything like that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, for example, if you download my software on your iPhone, you're not going to get anything done, all right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
if you have the actual robot, the humanoid robot, and we can talk more about the robot too. If you have the humanoid robot and you patent the software, if you patent the physical form, you still need the software controls to run it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
that makes
so
sense.
so
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter if somebody copies it. So if they don't have the physical form or the physical, and it costs money to clone stuff. So if
Yeah.
somebody's going to figure out how to reverse engineer my robot, they won't have the software, and they will get in trouble with my patent attorneys
Mhm.
if they clone the robot,
Yeah, they
because
might
they
have the
can't. If they
software,
make
but
money off it,
they don't
go
have the
ahead.
vessel. They might have the software,
No,
but
they
they don't
don't
have
have the
the
vessel.
vessel.
Software, boom. It's ones and zeros on a hard drive. They could copy everything.
Mhm.
And the energy to copy and clone software is so cheap, anybody can do it.
Mhm.
But cloning hardware, oh my gosh, I need a 3D printer, I need a metal shop.
Mhm.
I can't physically clone this microphone in front of me unless I
Yeah.
have the right tools, machine shop or whatnot.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm a huge advocate of hardware after all the software trauma I've had, basically. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So moving on real quick, going into
yeah,
like the robots actually.
yeah,
So you have Melissa, right?
that's
Is what
right.
you
Yeah,
guys
she
are
was first
trying
called
to.
Melissa.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We rebranded her to Seraphim, and the healthcare version is called Nightingale. So mostly
Mhm.
Seraphim now and Melissa, basically. Or, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
Seraphim and Nightingale's the healthcare one.
So what's like the ideal purpose for this robot? What like
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to
Mhm.
give you an analogy. I'm going to
Mhm.
talk about a little bit about the Turing machine. The
Mhm.
Turing machine was the first universally programmable computer, right?
Mhm.
Instead of an abacus doing one thing that does math,
Mhm.
the Turing machine would do programmable tasks, which could be any tasks that are programmable into it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm doing the same thing with the universal robotics platform of a humanoid, the Seraphim, as Turing did with a computer,
Mhm.
meaning this humanoid can do any task that a human trains it to do. For
Mhm.
example, with human motion capture, if it's like washing dishes or doing laundry. So we could train it any task that a human could do, but it won't still compete with like mass manufacturing, like automotive assembly line. That's welding and drilling and stuff like that. All the hard stuff, all the dangerous, boring, and hard labor that humans are doing now, including agriculture, manufacturing, firefighting, for example. It is designed to do these things within sane, reasonable AI controls, basically. So
Yeah. So how far along are you to, implementing this in kind of like a practical sense?
yeah, exactly. So our motherboard is probably about this size. It's 60% done. Is the size of my iPhone. It's 60% done. The PCB is ready to be firmware developed for that. The hardware is mostly digital right now, mostly digital models. I'm raising money for capital equipment to cut the right parts, the cranium, the soft tissue, soft muscles, basically, which are all synthetic and artificial. There's no biological components to this.
I was about to say,
So
I
I'm
did
raising
see.
capital. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah. CNC stands for computer numerical control. It's like a machine that cuts metal, basically.
Gotcha.
I need the machine to cut metal and to create molds for the soft muscles and stuff like that, basically. So
Yeah, I saw in your video the muscle technology that you have that you were making. It's 10 times stronger than a regular human.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the optimized version, when we're projecting the twisted nylon filament that you can see inside of some of the videos, or the patent. It's in the patent.
Yeah.
I haven't published some stuff yet. I'm still trying to keep some trade secrets.
Of course,
But we should have 10 times the amount of human muscle strength as humans, basically.
That is incredible.
Yeah. That's
exactly. Yep.
That's something that's not just like incredible, but like life changing.
That's literally game changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I took full credit for this. I made a hybrid version of another professor's work in I think it was in Texas, actually. So I made a hybrid. I optimized what he had and made it better, basically, and filed a patent for that type of technology, basically. So again, I'm not rebuilding a wheel here. I'm building Lego blocks of technology that works really well in assembling them.
You're making the most efficient use of all the parts, basically.
That's right. I'm not going to go out there and do research on polymers when the research is already done.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Well, and how do you think that like this AI and like this robot would coexist within society?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to use the analogy between a canine and a canine handler, right? So every robot will have a handler, and that'll be the person responsible for training it and catering it and taking care of it. For example, if a farmer needs 2 or 3 robots, the farmer just trains them in the manners that he wants them to train for. Basically,
that is kind of the most interesting aspect of it, right? Thinking about that, like you think like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a robot. And then you'd think, like in my mind, I don't know why, I was thinking it was already new, like you go farm. But no, you have to train it. But that's like kind of the coolest part, right? It's like you're training a worker to do its job.
It reminds
That's
me
right,
of, like,
exactly. But that worker doesn't get tired, works 22 hours a day, is 1/3 the cost, but it optimizes the already skilled labor. So it's optimizing people who are already trained. It gives them much more leverage of power. It's like us using a computer versus a pen and paper, basically. So,
yeah. That is incredible. I mean, so do you think like this would be implemented in like warehouses? I know,
absolutely.
Like,
warehouse
work.
Warehouse work for sure. Warehouse work is dangerous too. There's all sorts of bad stuff that can happen.
Oh yeah.
Repetitive stress injuries, falling off ladders, stuff falling on people.
Well,
so you'd literally be able to perceive the robot through its eyes and see what it's doing and making sure it's okay. After it's trained,
awesome.
Obviously. So
yeah. Oh yeah. It reminds me of like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, like buying R2 and C3PO. Like, oh, we'll take that one.
Yeah,
it'll be like that. It's going to be like that. It's going to be like that in our lifetimes. Like they'll have different versions, basically. But fundamentally, I chose a human form because the human form is the optimal form for land-based stuff, basically.
Yeah.
We're the best form that we can think of, right? So why do I need to redesign a new robot when whatever hundreds of thousands of years or millions of years of evolution have helped us have these hands and mobility, speech, and all that stuff. So I mean, why do I need to redesign the wheel?
Exactly. Well, and the thing that like kind of comes to mind, like when we're talking about AI and robots doing daily tasks and like being more efficient, making our lives efficient. How do you squash like the general consensus of like, is AI, are robots going to take over the world?
Yeah.
We've all seen like iRobot
Yeah.
starring Will Smith.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
There's a huge collective consciousness of people that are scared of robots right now.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, we should be scared of robots.
Mhm.
But the thing is, as long as we have the best robot,
Mhm.
we will always be fine.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So the AI race has already started from 5th generation,
Mhm.
from social media to media based. All this stuff is weaponized now. The same
Yeah.
thing's going to happen to kinetic stuff.
Yeah.
So the purpose of the Sheriffim is to make sure we have a human in the loop at all times.
Mhm.
Meaning, if we train a robot to do a lethal task, for example, we
Mhm.
make sure that human approves that lethal task.
Yeah.
And the simulator will do that. And then we basically we make sure that bad logic, like no human in the loop, doesn't get pushed to the real world system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very important here. It's very important to know that we must have control over our AI,
Mhm.
and you always have to cater it. There always has to be handler on there, and I'm here to make sure that everybody has a handler. Every robot has a handler, and it's going to be ethical and used properly through human auditing and catering. We can't just build a robot that looks at all warm targets and shoots. We cannot
Yeah.
do that.
That
That is
yeah, that's crazy.
absolutely catastrophic. I can't say that other countries will follow that same rule.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
But
and it's
And
the-
another key point is when these things happen,
Mhm.
when somebody does create that warm target robot,
Mhm.
the only thing that can fight the warm target robot is an AI. So we
Mhm.
have to have an AI that counteracts those threats. It's just
Yeah.
as simple as that.
So you're pretty much like comparing the AI race to like the space race or something like that, along those lines of different
Yeah, I want to say
countries.
this is a race for nukes, but more lethal.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
This is more lethal than nukes.
Mhm. Well,
The only thing worse than kinetic AI
Mhm.
is biological, which we have already been attacked by. Basically,
yeah.
I believe
yeah.
I believe everything's been a weapon, basically. So.
Mhm. Now, how do you feel about like it might be primitive AI, but like this like our society runs on primitive forms of AI. How does that like how do you feel about the public having their hands on this AI, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to use another analogy
Yeah.
compared to nukes. Like
Mhm.
there hasn't been like a nuclear strike, and nobody's accidentally launched a nuke. We
Mhm.
have to have the same checks and balances
Mhm.
for a nuclear weapon as far as unleashing and letting out this AI. Basically,
Yeah.
only vetted people are allowed to basically use this AI, and they
Mhm.
will always have to have a human in the loop and controlling them and watching them at all times, like anybody would
Mhm.
watch a child or a
Yeah.
baby, basically.
It's
The
gotta be
time.
better
You
than
can't
gun
just
control.
release these things and let them do whatever. It's not going to work that way.
Mhm.
I guarantee you, it's not going to work that way. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Oh my word, yeah. So let's actually like talk about like the robotics and like the humanistic features of this robot, because
Yeah.
it's super interesting because like we've seen a lot like specifically in the Oculus whole like Facebook thing where they didn't want to add legs because the legs looked unnatural when you were in the headset, you know. How are you making this AI robot
More personable, basically.
more personable?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So people are not tackling I've done some AR and VR development too, basically.
Mhm.
So you should be able to perceive the robot through VR, AR glasses, whatever, either way.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge fan of VR itself. It's very fatiguing on the head.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
yeah.
only that, you're paying attention to two worlds, your own proprioception
Mhm.
along with a virtual proprioception. So your brain's doing double the work. You
Yeah.
can't handle an environment like that for too long.
But to
It's just
say,
not
I
gonna
know a
work.
lot of works are planning on going to virtual. I don't know if you've seen that. It sounds
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm hugely skeptical of the whole meta stuff, because think about the content you have to create in VR versus like a regular video game. It's worse because you have
Yeah.
to focus on motion sickness.
Mhm.
You have to focus on frame rate, hardware limitations. And think about how many more developers it would take to create these VR games that are, that are existing now, and amplify that towards the order of magnitude Facebook or Meta is now shooting for.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It takes years to develop a 3D artist.
Yeah.
Years.
Mm-hmm. And they're trying to do it at light speed.
Oh yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
I mean, just for me to UVW unwrap textured model, I mean, that's a 2-year process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to think you could just create a program that automatically does it still doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
not even close.
And like also in like a gaming sphere, right? Like it's you put it like every VR game that I've played, like it's fun, but it'll never compare to a
real AAA title or
exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, think about the testing they'd have to do with that. You can't move in VR.
It's so
disappointing.
motion honestly.
Sickness.
Yeah.
You get really, really sick. And if you played the Steam VR or Oculus VR, there are apps on there that troll you and literally make you motion sick.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah.
Like moving sideways in VR is horrible.
Yeah. Oh my word. Yeah. Well,
it ruined my gaming night. My friends were planning on playing gaming or a LAN party, and then I tried it and I was sick for 6 hours. I was only in for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and they want to develop these like huge AAA games within VR. Yet I feel like the big thing about a video game is movement. For certain games.
You can't move.
You can't move at all.
The only way you could solve that problem is if you can physically move in the environment you're in with the VR, which completely defeats the purpose of VR unless you're in a big warehouse. You literally have to sync the environment up with your body, your physical location, and the obstacles around you, so you don't crash into people or other obstacles. The only way you can do that is syncing the virtual environment with augmented reality, for example. I'm a little more bullish about augmented reality, but the only way to avoid that motion sickness is literally syncing the real world environment with what you see. Other than that, you're just sitting in a chair, moving around, rotating your head. It's not the same. It's like moving around a first person shooter, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think that VR it's another industry that is trying to be commercialized and rushed into just because you can kind of make a quick buck.
It's just the new thing, yeah.
Yeah. Like
exactly.
We've seen it with the hardware trend. Yeah.
Yeah, the hardware's caught up to the frame rates for decent games. I think for casual games like Beat Saber or whatever, I think that's fine. But I don't think you could triple a full on, Call of Duty or Battlefield with VR. No. You fly a helicopter in VR.
They tried it with Borderlands. They tried it with Borderlands. The issue comes from the actual movement. You have to press a button to move forward, and then it's but you're kind of teleporting all over the place. It's so disorienting.
Yeah, it's disorienting, and if you do a smooth movement, you're gonna want to puke. If you snap it over, it's not realistic.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a lose-lose situation there.
Yeah, exactly.
At the moment, maybe it'll get better, but I'm honestly not worried.
And imagine
about
people creating content on a platform like that. I mean, what are you going to release a giant warehouse in order to walk around in the meta world? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and you're kind of already seeing that a little bit with we're in Jersey, so we see it at, in Ocean City, right? We see these big buildings that say VR experience, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And it just
they're the new escape room. They're the new escape room.
Yeah, it seems hokey instead of some revolutionary technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's because what people want are Sword Art Online, anime,
exactly.
You enter in and it's your whole body's in there and it's like an RPG, but nah, it's never gonna. I mean, I can't say never, but it just doesn't seem likely that we'll ever get to that point. I mean, what do you think with VR, Steve?
I'm very bearish on VR. I think it'll be a novelty. You just go to a room, an empty room, put a mask on with the computer on your backpack. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the best you can do. But you're still in one room all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, so since we're talking about technology, and technology is always leading the future, Where do you see the ideal future in the next 10 years when it comes to
Robotics,
technology,
and, yeah,
robotics,
all
AI,
of it.
things
Yeah,
like that?
exactly. Number one, I want to establish, at least, I'm a patriot. I love this country. I love the United States of
Woo.
America.
Yeah.
I love the Constitution,
Mhm.
and I think we're the last place on earth for potential, freedom. I mean, the stuff has been kind of been encroached upon, but I want to make sure we have the best technology to protect our constitutional republic, basically. So
Yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. And do you think that like cyber warfare to try to like undermine like our values is like
oh
a
no,
real threat?
I guarantee you, our social networks are infiltrated by China. They're infiltrated by Russia. I mean,
Yeah.
this is well published right now. There's so much influence from China on our social media, Twitter stuff. Stuff is happening internally in our government too.
Mhm.
So, I mean, for the most part, I mean, the only solution is competition amongst media, like what you guys are doing as far as broadcasting independently. I love independent media.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys
Oh,
keep
yeah.
on doing what you're doing. It's very important, basically. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is important.
Do you think that independent media and like independent entrepreneurship is sort of the
Of
future in
course, definitely.
America?
This is what founded America. The
Yeah.
reason why America was such a great country was,
Mhm.
number one, we were able to create stuff from nothing and make money off of it. If you were a shoemaker in England, chances are you and your kids and their kids will be making shoes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like that here. If you have a
It-
great idea here, originally you go to the stock market and say, "Hey, I have a company. Can you please fund me?" And then people, say, "I want to fund you," or whatever. It's not like that now. A little screwed up in the financial system now.
Yeah. Oh my word.
No, yeah.
Well, and it also feels like some like industries are becoming homogenized, and really being engulfed by the technology that made it. Like online
Yeah.
shopping is we don't think of anything else but Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That's right. Yeah, that's our go-to. That's our
Yeah.
go-to. I agree for sure. I think exactly. But yeah, that's true. That's
Well,
true.
It is starting to change, though. I mean, like, as in, like, the food industry specifically. I know with, like, this is gonna sound silly, I guess, but like ghost kitchens. Like, you have
Yeah.
it sounds stupid, but like Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah,
Like, big guy, but he's an independent guy, right? Like, he opened Mr. Beast Burger or whatever, and like nobody kind of thought shit about it. It's like, oh, this is a cool marketing ploy, but now like he's got like over like what 300-400 locations all over, and like they're going,
Really?
yeah, like it's.
I'm
and he
I'm
started as a
unfamiliar with this
ghost
Mr.
kitchen.
Beast story. What happened with this story?
So basically, Mr. Beast's huge YouTuber, right? Like he just spends money to make money, as in like he'll make videos like I gave a homeless man like $10,000, right? And then from that, people buy merch, and then like he'll use that to make another video where he gives like his fan like a house, right? Like someone
I
like
see, gotcha. So he's churning his revenues into bigger productions.
correct.
Yeah.
So what he
Yeah,
did
that's
was
good.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. And he is very open on any podcast he goes on. He's like, this is how we make money. This is like everything.
Fantastic.
Like,
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And then so he ended up making this Mr. Beast burger, and it was supposed to be kind of a joke of like, hey, like we're opening our own burger place, like McDonald's, right? And they have like their own food and their own, like, they call them the Beast fries, which they're actually pretty decent. But what he did was he started them out in these ghost kitchens, which are basically a kitchen that is like owned by, like, let's just say like Chili's owns this kitchen.
Yeah.
But like after hours when the Chili's is closed, right, there's an open kitchen. So instead of buying a whole restaurant, it's online ordering only, but they get to use all of the equipment that Chili's has.
That's genius.
Yep.
Because what is that store doing at an after hours? It's doing nothing.
That's right.
Brilliant.
So he's using that to make a ton of cash, and then from there he was able to buy a bunch of actual stores, and it's even getting to the point where we've seen nobody grow anything faster, like the stat wise, like store wise, than him, in the fact of like chain restaurants, and the fact that
Wow.
he went from nothing to like over like 200-300 restaurants in the
Wow,
span
that's
of like
fantastic.
overnight.
That's a good story. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, if I had I'm crazy, I'd run the restaurant 24/7, but because
Yeah.
you're paying for it every month, every hour, basically. Utilize that space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because it's like the
That was
best
a
part about
brilliant
it is
plan.
not only is Mr. Beast making more money, which he uses in his videos, like he just gave someone an island.
Yeah.
Like crazy stuff. But like not only is he making money from it. His fans are making money from it, and also the store itself gets a cut of whatever he sells.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow,
if it's a
that's
mom
awesome.
and pop shop, because they do it in all different kitchens. If it's like a mom and pop kitchen, they're making money off every sale as well for letting them use the equipment.
That's incredible. That's good.
Yeah.
That's see, setting up win-win-win situations is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's a genius. So I'm gonna have to look this guy up. I'm really curious about
Dude,
him.
yeah, he makes
No, he's
crazy
awesome.
videos.
He's really awesome. So, talking about like the cultural aspect of the AI and like how it will affect how we live, right? Do you think that AI will have an impact on job rates?
Yeah, that's a good
unemployment,
question.
Absolutely,
you know?
it's going to impact us in every single way. When these things start getting manufactured and we start having them in its household item, you're going to have more time with your family.
Yeah.
You're going to have more time to rest. You're going to have more time to sleep. And I think it's going to bring us closer to focus on things such as the arts, creativity.
The
rest,
only question is
family
how will
time.
people like how will people make money? Like if like say it takes over a bunch of factory jobs. Like you know what are people gonna do like about paying their mortgage? Like if they lose
I'm
their
not
job
too
to a
worried
robot.
about I'm not too worried about the factory jobs because the people that are in the factories will basically be training the robots in a sense. And
that's true.
The amount of stuff we could create with that labor force, if we take that labor force, say for example 1,000 workers in a factory, and we each give them 3 robots, think about that production.
Yeah.
Think about how much better these workers will be paid.
I think that also goes good into my next topic real quick, which I wanted to talk about. I saw you were doing work for last mile delivery, right?
Yeah, that's
And looking
correct.
into
Yeah.
that. Now, if we have, I saw on there the stat was, and this was from 2020, I believe, but you had said,
yeah, that's great. You looked at the market report. Great, good
you
for
know
you.
it. You know it. Got to research.
That's awesome.
Gotta
Good for you.
research.
That's great.
From
You got an Easter egg.
$1.50.
That's right. You found
That's
an
right.
Easter egg, man.
That's
Good
right.
job.
From $1.50, you could get it down to 6 cents. Right? It's
Yeah.
like the projection. If you go from regular labor force like delivery down to drones and robots, how long do you think until we can reach that? And what's like the way they're going to do it? Like, how do you think it's gonna like change?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've done my stint at like Walmart. I threw trucks out of Walmart. Throwing a truck is basically unloading a huge truck, putting it on the shelves, organizing, and putting it actually on the consumer shelves. Tough work. It's really tough work. I mean, literally to throw a 53-foot truck, it's about maybe 6 hours with maybe 15 to 20 people on at all times. And that's laborious. So last mile delivery is extremely, that is the most expensive part of any logistics basically, that last mile to get it to the consumer or to get it on the shelf. That's the hardest part. It takes the most energy, it takes the most money, and it takes the most human resources. So what's going to happen with that is prices should go down. We should have cheaper prices as far as delivery. We'll have better logistics, more accurate logistics. And again, when we save money, we have money for other resources such as vacations for family time. And less broken backs. Yeah. I knew a 20-year-old that already threw his back out from throwing trucks, basically. I mean, you shouldn't be throwing your back out when you're 20 years old, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely, I've done my fair share of warehouse work. And,
Me too. It's hard work. It's dangerous. Forklifts could fail. Somebody could not load something. Pallets could fall. It's just dangerous work.
No, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard too.
So the robots, like the ones like, let's say like Seraphim, is that what it was called, right?
Yeah. We call it Seraphim now. Yes, that's correct.
So Seraphim could potentially unload trucks and do that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it would unload the pallets. Trucks usually are packed in pallets. So have you ever seen the way a Walmart truck is organized?
Oh, yeah. I have actually.
Oh, my gosh. Front to end, top to bottom, just packed like a sardine, man.
Yeah. And that would be a good, a good use of the robot, I think, as well as it would also showcase that, every truck comes loaded completely different, like a game of Tetris. So it's like they got to really be able to use their AI and their algorithm to be able to like kind of piecemeal, be like, all right, which one comes out next so I don't accidentally drop all these boxes or anything like that.
Exactly. And it could mentally calculate that before the truck even arrives and organize the order, basically.
That's awesome.
So
And not only that, but that 20-year-old won't have a bad disc for the rest of his
Yeah.
life.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, do you think that like so I might be thinking small brain here, but usually every single piece of technology that I've used has been plugged into the wall, has had batteries.
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't even
had
think
things
about
like
that.
This, you know, so
Yes.
if we're having a robot working 22 hours a day, how is it getting
Yeah.
its energy? How is it getting its power?
Yeah, so the inside the bones, the femur, the
Mhm.
major bones, there's lithium ion or polymer batteries, depending on how aggressive we are with the batteries.
Mhm.
And the robot can walk on average. We're calculating, projecting the robot can walk for 5 hours, or I'm sorry, for 5 miles, at casual walk. If
Mhm.
it's heavy duty, it'll need to be charged inductively more often.
Yeah.
So it
Mhm.
could walk 5 miles.
Nice. Yeah, it's because I my day job, I work a lot with lithium batteries.
Yeah,
And like
nice.
and working on charging things and like how to be as power efficient as possible. And it
Yeah.
feels like I have a lithium battery that is like the size of my arm, but it only has like a
Yeah.
15-minute charge, you know, like for
Yeah,
high
no,
intensity workflow, you know?
yeah, no, I mean, we're packing these things in every big bone,
Mhm.
femur, fibia, tibia, pelvis, and stuff. We're packing them inside the endoskeleton, basically. So
Yeah.
there's enough juice there, guaranteed. I did most of the calculations as far as the mass and how much it can move and how much it weighs and stuff like that. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
confident we get 5 miles out of them, and then we could do an extended battery pack as a backpack too. Lots of
Oh
options.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Would it be like this is gonna sound so stupid? Is it gonna be like a Roomba where it like kind of like walks back to its charger, like and stands on like a wireless charger?
I mean, yeah. It'll say you duty cycle over. It'll sit down, and another one will stand up and take its place, basically.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, well.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that there is like a world where these AI are like they're strictly for people to use, or they can like live on their own? They can have some sort of life outside of people.
Yeah, I think what I call sentient and non-sentient. These things are
Mhm.
non-sentient. They're just as utility as your computer.
Yeah.
I think sentience begins with DNA and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think
Mhm.
sentient will ever be silicon. I don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe you could implant silicon into a human brain or whatnot, but for the most part, they're non-sentient. They're just
Yeah.
as much of a tool as your hammer or your screwdriver, basically.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you would do that. Like thinking about it, right? Like because
Mhm.
the human brain is so like complex
Yeah.
and so like wired
there's
to kind of learn, and I don't know.
Exactly. There's stuff we don't understand that's going on in the human brain. There's quantum properties are in the brain. We do not know how to build a brain from scratch.
Yeah.
How can we manipulate our brain if we can't even build a brain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's impossible. We don't even understand how DNA works yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you think in our lifetime that like AI could like maybe replicate that, or is it only non-sentient?
So I think there will always be a separation between biological and
Mhm.
artificial. I think
Mhm.
biological has had too much time. I think
Mhm.
it's had too much time. I think there is some sort of intelligent creation in it. I read a paper on this because
Mhm.
I think there's something going on. I use the analogy that DNA
Mhm.
is machine code for as machine code is to, for example, a source code. So
Mhm.
there's a source code out there somewhere, whether it's God or ET or whatever.
Yeah.
Something's creating
Yeah.
this.
The
It's not by
blueprints.
chance.
Mhm.
It's not by chance. We cannot create the DNA sequence, even the smallest single celled one, in a supercomputer today. It's impossible. It's too much compute.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my
No,
word.
yeah.
It's so interesting.
So there's some sort of design that's happening here somehow, and
Mhm.
I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how it's created, but for some reason there's something going on that is way more complex than anything we understand, including our brains.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's truly insane how you got from like EA developing software, going through that to really creating something that would change the world. Who knew that
Yeah,
The
I never
Simpsons
in
could?
I never intended to go into robotics. All I wanted to do was have fun and have play. Yeah, an extremely curious mind, and I have this huge focus on solving problems and learning basically. But I wasn't expecting to go into robotics. But all my play growing up and in college
Mhm.
came out to the patents and stuff, and the bad experiences I had with software too. So it shaped me towards the physical stuff. So
Mm-hmm. Do you think you'd ever go back into software, or do you think hardware is
no
where you're
way.
staying?
I'm
Yeah.
staying in hardware. There's too much cyber fifth generation warfare going on.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the streaming wars, dude, but
Yeah.
with
Yeah, I mean,
freaking software instead.
Yeah.
I get middleman attacks on my phone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I get people get viruses, trojans on their computers. I'm not going to use Amazon Web Services. I'm not going to use Google Compute. I'm not going to use Microsoft Azure. These are all competing platforms. Why would I store my competitors' information? Why would I store my information on my competitors' servers?
So wait, you have your own like OS in a sense?
So not necessarily OS, but I want to say I'll have my own intranet basically. So I'll use some technologies, but I keep them offline. Physical disconnect at the physical level, basically.
That way nobody can take anything.
Exactly. We've
That's
already had data
fantastic.
breaches at on our site. Somebody
Yeah.
physically breached the location in Sacramento, basically.
Especially when you're working in like such a large industry, like people are probably
Yes,
itching to get their hands on any
absolutely.
information.
China spent millions to try to steal my technology already. So I had to file an FBI report, basically. So
That's
Whoa,
crazy. Yeah,
hold on. Wait,
why
go
don't you
into
go
that
into
real
that?
fast?
That sounds crazy.
it's absolutely insane. So originally I got funded from China for $1 million to create social robots.
Wow.
2 years later, they come back and say, "Oh, by the way, the trade war started. We can't fund you for the manufacturing of the social robot you designed. Oh, can you give us the patent for that technology that you developed without us?"
Was that robot the one in the video?
Yeah, so the Bizarre, the social robot, fantastic,
Yes.
beautiful social robot, was what I developed for them. Fine, harmless, no defense related tech. Seraphim, on the other hand, is very dangerous for a foreign country or entity or state to have, basically.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that like other countries are trying to develop it, or do you think that they have the
Absolutely,
resources
I
not
guarantee
to?
it. I may be the only person on this earth. I hate to say it. I may be the only person on this earth that could develop the technology, mostly because of my background.
Yeah.
But I believe China is trying to steal. I believe India is trying to steal. Most of the middleman attacks I trace back to India.
Wow.
Wow. Why do you think that India is trying to?
Well, I mean, think about it.
Mhm.
Well, let's just take a step back and look at technology.
Yeah.
You compare the black market drug industry. Say for
Mhm.
example, several trillion a year, maybe.
Mhm.
Technology, on the other hand, way more valuable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That information.
Orders of magnitude between a tech company and the Sinaloa cartel valuation. You're going to choose a tech company.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The cartels are nothing in comparison to tech company evaluations.
Yeah. Oh my word. Yeah.
Information is king. The same thing happened at someone from Pepsi had stolen, or I'm sorry, someone from Coke had stolen the formula and then tried to sell it to Pepsi. And when they did, I swear to God, this is crazy. Like Pepsi, bought like whatever was from them, but didn't buy the recipe. They were like, "We'll meet you at this place." And when they got there, it was the FBI. Pepsi literally was like, "Here you go." Like,
wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy. Because information is king.
Yeah.
Information is king. I'm telling you, and technology wins all wars too, basically.
And especially with something so dangerous, what I mean? Because think about
Absolutely,
it. It's like the way you're designing it is obviously to be, for the powers of the righteous, for good, to use it
That's
as
right,
medical
exactly.
and for helping
Yes.
people with like, labor, right? But who's to say that somebody else doesn't get the technology and be like, I'm going to make robots that are programmed to like rob a bank
Yeah.
and walk
Exactly.
in and just do it.
Exactly.
So my next like big question is once the robot's done, it's completely done, it's made, it's ready for use, right? Is it going to be a commercialized product, or is it going to
Absolutely,
be?
that's right. Yeah.
How much
Yeah,
for the
the
manufacturing, you think?
top three things I'm targeting are agriculture,
Mhm.
manufacturing, and like firefighting, really dangerous stuff, basically.
Mhm.
That or in last mile. Those are the top 3 or 4 things I'm
Yeah.
targeting. I just don't want people getting hurt. I don't want people getting killed. I don't want firefighters losing their families, or the vice versa, whatever. And I don't want it's just a huge empathy for people. I want people to spend time with their families and stuff. So
Yeah, that's I can definitely see how it could be helping everything, especially firefighting. Like you could have a firefighter partner with a robot, so that way, like if something like were to fall, the robot could like lift up the burning building, and the firefighter could go in and grab what's needed, and then they could get out of there. Like that's kind of nuts.
you could literally do like airborne firefighter, where you just drop the robots in the middle of the fire.
That's true.
Or nearby it, and I mean, who cares if a robot gets burnt?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, what is like what is the cost like to buy? Like
we're looking at $40,000 a unit for simple like household features and stuff like that. So
what would
you
be
could
a
do the
household
math.
one? Like what would a household one like? What would I like every day be like? I have a robot now. Like what would I use it for?
If you want household tasks like cleaning, laundry, dishes, whatever task, folding laundry, well, that unit probably run for maybe 40,000. It's like buying a car, basically.
Dude, I need a robot.
I know, right? I mean, think about it. In a house, it could last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, basically. And think about even cooking. If it's in there, it could cook, it could clean, laundry. Think about how much time that saves us.
Yeah.
Do you think an AI like that could handle such an intricate task as seasoning a steak?
Absolutely. 100. I 100% guarantee Rosie the robot will be seeing that.
That's awesome.
I guarantee it.
That's such a great comparison. Rosie the robot.
Rosie the robot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it was the sign of the working class during World War II.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now like bringing it back into a new light is that's actually really cool.
I like the way you put it too. It's like on the one video you had, it's like these robots would be ending pretty much like slave labor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's number one. These things were designed to compete with slave labor, prison labor that's going on in China now. The only reason why their prices of manufacturing is so low is because they're using prison labor.
That is incredible. Think about that for a second. Yeah, like he's right. Like, like we had the robots do all the manufacturing in the US. Like, what do we even need?
Think about it. It'll be cheaper than prison labor once we have robots manufacturing here.
We don't gotta pay them
extremely
to make
cheaper
it.
than prison labor. And they're gonna have to do something with those people. They're gonna have to free them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's insane.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Well, and plus, like, security is going to be overhauled too.
Dude, yeah. Could you imagine the bouncer at a bar?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mr. T, the robot, right?
Yeah, literally.
Exactly. Exactly.
But school security, wouldn't you like to have a Seraphim where your children are at? Like, for example, the Uvalde thing. Imagine if that guy wouldn't have went there if a Seraphim was there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That is crazy. Nice. Well, Steve, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Fantastic time.
I have read the hot opinion, like New York Times, Washington Post pieces about AI, but I never truly understood its main purpose, and it was really informative.
Yeah, I think. Last question here is: how can people support you? Like, how can we?
Yeah,
help
exactly.
the cause?
So I'm kind of in the doldrums right now as I'm transitioning my office, but we're register for the website. We're going to do a Regulation D crowdfund in maybe next year sometime. I just need the industrial equipment in 2 years. Basically, we should be golden in Houston.
Awesome.
A little better tax base than California for sure for stuff like this too. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Is there any Instagram, social media places?
Yeah. So if you could visit my website and register for it, if you support my work, I'd really appreciate registering for the website. The website is far-corp.com, far-corp.com. Just register for the website. Most likely this year, within next few months, we're going to do Regulation D equity-based crowdfunding, meaning it's like Kickstarter, but there's equity in it, where if the company hits the $1 billion valuation, then imagine how much stock.
Oh yeah,
itself for.
that's gonna be fantastic.
And there is an Easter egg on the website, which somebody saw the true value of the market.
That's right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Get your Easter egg, guys.
Hey,
Gotta get the Easter egg.
We're all on board.
Yeah,
Steve.
you can definitely expect to see some funding from us
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
For sure. Thanks. Really appreciate that. What I'll do when I launch the campaign, I'll circle back with you guys and we'll keep you posted on the campaign.
Yes, please. And
Amazing.
when we're gonna be posting these on like the podcast obviously is gonna be on YouTube as well. I'll make sure that we put everything in the description, like links and everything, so people are up to date and can definitely help out.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve. Thanks for everyone who was watching. And we will catch you on the next one. I think we are doing Thursday.
Yep, Thursday. Everybody get excited. We have Gina Scarpa coming on to talk. She's a voice actor, and she played characters in The Walking Dead, The Last Mile, the game, and she also does voice acting voiceover work for Burger King, Xfinity, and a bunch of other places. So,
and Steve, if you ever want to come back on here,
yes, please.
You want to talk about new stuff? I
would love to hear updates.
Would love to hear about it.
Want to hear updates?
Definitely, yeah. And you guys can ping me anytime if you have any questions. You got my number, so ping me anytime.
Awesome.
I work all the time, so ping me anytime. Don't be shy.
That's what I like to hear.
Of course.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Michael and Wes. Take care.
You too.
Have a good one. Yeah.
Bye-bye.